Apollonius of Tyana. Apollonius was a Greek philosopher, mystic, and alleged miracle worker who lived in the 1st century AD. Born in the Roman province of Cappadocia, he was raised in the teachings of Pythagoras, embracing a strict lifestyle of vegetarianism, silence, and spiritual discipline. He traveled far and wide, from Egypt to Mesopotamia to India, in search of hidden wisdom. Along the way, he was said to have healed the sick, predicted events, tamed wild animals, and even raised the dead. To some, he was a divine figure; to others, a sorcerer. Early Christians even saw him as a rival to Jesus, given how similar their miracles appeared. But the most intriguing part of his story was his disappearance. After being put on trial by the Roman Emperor Domitian, Apollonius is said to have vanished from the courtroom, leaving no trace behind, no tomb, no confirmed death, no closure. Some say he ascended. Others say he lived for centuries under different names. His final fate remains one of the ancient world's great unsolved mysteries. Saint John the Apostle, also known as John the Beloved, was one of the 12 disciples of Jesus and traditionally credited as the author of the Gospel of John, the Book of Revelation, and several epistles. According to early Christian writings, John was the only apostle who wasn't martyred. Instead, he was exiled to the island of Patmos, where he received the visions that became the Book of Revelation. After his exile, some traditions say he returned to Ephesus, lived to an old age, and then he simply vanished. One ancient legend claims John walked into his own grave and was buried alive, but when the tomb was opened, his body was gone. Another says he was taken up into heaven still alive, much like Enoch or Elijah. This gave rise to the idea that John never died and may still be alive, wandering the earth until the return of Christ. His mysterious fate sparked centuries of speculation, making him not just a pillar of the early church, but a symbol of immortality, divine favor, and eternal mystery. Nicolas Flamel. He was born around 1330 in Paris, a humble bookseller and copyist by trade. For most of his life, he lived quietly, known for his piety, his generosity to the poor, and his devotion to his wife, Perenelle. But centuries after his death, Flamel's name would become legend, not for what he sold, but for what he was rumored to have discovered: the Philosopher's Stone. The story begins with a strange book. One day, Flamel reportedly acquired an ancient, arcane manuscript, bound in copper and filled with indecipherable symbols. The title was The Book of Abraham the Jew, a mystical alchemical text said to contain the secret to immortality and transmutation. Flamel spent decades trying to unlock its secrets, studying astrology, Kabbalah, and alchemy, traveling across Europe in search of Jewish scholars who could help him decipher its cryptic language. And then something changed. Flamel's wealth began to grow, quietly, discreetly. He and Perenelle funded the construction of churches, hospitals, and charitable housing across Paris. But no one ever saw him conducting business or inheriting money. The whispers began. He had succeeded. He had created the Philosopher's Stone, turning lead into gold and gaining eternal life. Yet the mystery deepens. Flamel died in 1418, supposedly. Years later, when grave robbers opened his tomb at the Church of Saint Jacques de la Boucherie, they found nothing: no body, no bones, just an empty coffin. Some say he faked his death and vanished into the shadows. Others claim he and Perenelle both achieved physical immortality and were seen centuries later traveling through Europe under new identities. To this day, Nicolas Flamel remains a towering figure in alchemical lore, a symbol of humanity's eternal quest for transformation, enlightenment, and the defiance of death. The Comte de Saint Germain. He was not just a man, he was a myth in motion. Emerging in the courts of 18th century Europe, he was a figure of contradiction and awe. Nobles, spies, scientists, and mystics alike were captivated by his elegance, his intelligence, and above all, his mystery. No one knew his birthplace or age. He once claimed to be over 500 years old. Some said he was the son of a Transylvanian prince. Others whispered he was the wandering Jew, doomed to live until the second coming. But wherever he came from, he appeared to know everything. He spoke Sanskrit, Arabic, Greek, Latin, and every European tongue with native fluency. He painted masterpieces, composed music, played the violin with haunting brilliance, and held long philosophical debates with the most brilliant minds of his day. He moved through the courts of Louis XV and Frederick the Great, never aging, never eating in public, always immaculately dressed in jeweled velvet and powdered wigs. Some said he had a secret laboratory where he transmuted metals and created the elixir of life. Others said he never slept, preferring instead to work tirelessly on secret manuscripts and alchemical experiments. But here's where it gets even stranger. In 1784, records say the Comte died in Germany. His friend, the Landgrave of Hesse Castle, even claimed to have witnessed the burial. But in the years that followed, Saint Germain kept showing up. He was reportedly seen in France during the Revolution, warning Queen Marie Antoinette of her impending doom. Helena Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society later declared him an ascended master, a divine being who transcended human limits and chose to guide humanity from behind the scenes. William Morgan. He was a bricklayer, a veteran of the War of 1812, and most notably, a man who vanished without a trace in 1826. After threatening to reveal the secrets of Freemasonry. Morgan had joined the Masonic Lodge in upstate New York, but after conflicts with fellow members and being denied full initiation into higher ranks, he turned against the Brotherhood. In a bold and dangerous move, he announced his plan to publish a book exposing Masonic rituals and secrets, something the fraternity considered a grave betrayal. Shortly afterward, Morgan was arrested under dubious charges, and when he was released from jail, he was never seen again. Witnesses claimed he was kidnapped, forced into a carriage and taken to Fort Niagara, and from there the trail goes cold. Some believed he was murdered and dumped into the Niagara River. Others insisted he was paid to disappear or even smuggled into Canada. His disappearance unleashed public outrage. People feared the Freemasons held too much secret power, able to silence enemies at will. This led to the birth of the Anti-Masonic Party, America's first third party, founded on the idea of challenging elitist secrecy and influence. Babaji. This is one of the most mysterious and revered figures in modern spiritual history. Often described as an immortal yogi, Babaji is said to have transcended the limits of time and space, appearing throughout the centuries to guide advanced spiritual seekers on the path of liberation. He is most widely known through the accounts of Lahiri Mahasaya and Paramahansa Yogananda, particularly in Yogananda's famous book Autobiography of a Yogi. According to these sources, Babaji resides in the Himalayas, in a physical body that never ages and never dies. He is credited with reviving the ancient practice of Kriya Yoga, powerful meditation technique believed to accelerate spiritual awakening, and initiating select disciples to carry it into the modern world. His most famous known appearance was in 1861 when he manifested before Lahiri Mahasaya near Raniket, India. Without prior meeting, Babaji called Lahiri by name, initiated him into Kriya Yoga, and instructed him to begin teaching it to others. Since then, numerous saints and mystics have reported encountering him, sometimes in visions, sometimes in physical form, and often in moments of intense spiritual need. Babaji is not associated with any religion, temple, or lineage. He has no birth record, no known family, and no physical death. He appears when needed and disappears without a trace.